Good evening. Thank you, Philip. It's always great to be at Outright. I want to reiterate what Philip said. Thank you guys so much for supporting this wonderful bookstore. We need it in our community. I've just been out on tour just a week, and one of the things that I've recognized is the closing of a lot of African American and gay bookstores in big cities. So we should be proud that here in Atlanta we've been able to keep this store not only open, but from what I can tell, thriving. So on behalf of Philip and a lot of gay authors who, can't get in other stores, we certainly thank you. As many of you know, this is my home, so this is like being at home. I just got home maybe 2 hours before I came to this signing. Like I said, we've been on the road since the book came out. The book was released last Tuesday, and it was only out 5 days. And when I got home today, about an hour ago, I found out that I have my 9th consecutive New York Times bestseller. So I thank you guys for that. It's an awfully tough summer, and so we were really nervous because a lot of the big authors like Vonowich and James Patterson and all those people are on the list because they decided to come out this summer and avoid the fall when the election is going on. So all week my publisher had been saying your sales are better than they've ever been before, but you might not make the list because everybody is out. The list is so strong, and I say we because I couldn't have done it without you guys. We entered at 7th. We were the second highest debut of a book, and my sales have increased in all stores by 60%. So I thank you guys for that. Thank you so much for your support. I always say it's a tremendous blessing to do what you absolutely love doing when willing to do for free and have people respond the way. In Atlanta, everywhere I go, people from Atlanta have always supported me, and it means so much to me to be able to call, this place home. And I'm as thankful tonight for your support as I was when I was selling that self-published version of Invisible Life right here in Atlanta so many years ago. Invisible Life next year will be 15 years old. I don't know what that says about some of us, but it's hard to believe. It's a whole new generation of people reading Invisible Life. And a reporter asked me, I think from the Southern Voice, it was a reporter from the Southern Voice, asked me in an interview a couple of weeks ago, if I wrote Invisible Life today, how would it look? And I thought it was a really intelligent question. No one had asked me that question before, but I told him I thought it would look a little different because in teaching on a college campus, I'm very, very hopeful about what the future holds because the generation of young kids coming through my classroom are so much different than we were, and that's a good thing. They accepted me, and that's part of the reason I wrote this book. I'm going back to teach in the fall. I've missed it. I've been away for 2 years, and it seems like forever. I can't really wait to get back. I end the tour one day, and I start teaching the next. And I have missed it, and I hope they have missed me. They're just changing. They're just changing. Some of you may know because I'm kind of an open book. Everything about me is pretty much out there. But one of the things that I do in the summer, and I'm getting a book out of it. It's going to be a funny book too. I judge Miss America preliminaries during the summer. I've judged 8 different states. Ohio. This year I judged Illinois. Last year I judged Mississippi and North Carolina. When these states send their girls to Miss America, and so I'm writing a book called The Crown Chaser because some of the stories I've heard, when you spend a week with beauty contestants, it's an interesting week. But interestingly enough, I recently judged Miss Illinois, and I always try to think that I got the thought-provoking, tough question. I always want to be known as the toughest judge. So I'm reading USA Today, and I'm reading, I'm going to get them on the current event questions. But it was a young lady who was basically considered a contender for the title, so I want to make sure she had her stuff about her. And so I asked her the question, if your generation could choose one, and your choices are interracial marriage or gay marriage, which one would you choose? And she looked at me and she says, I only can choose one. And I said, yes. She said, well, that's interesting because my generation doesn't have a problem with either one of them. But since you're forcing me to choose one, you know, it was really, really interesting. An 18-year-old girl would have that kind of foresight and be able to articulate it. Gave me hope for the world. And like I said, from what I see from my students, you know, to go back to a place that had brought me a lot of joy, but it also caused me a lot of misery in my youth. And to be able to go there and walk the campus and be one of the most popular professors and not have to change a single thing about me is a testament, you know, to how things are changing. I don't know how much Invisible Life had to do with that change. If it did an ounce of a change, then that's wonderful. But what I want to do is to just tell the stories that come to me. This book took me 4 years. It took me 4 years because I wanted to make sure that it was perfect. I went through more drafts with this book than any book that I've ever written. I put it in the drawer for a year and didn't even touch it. I wrote I Say a Little Prayer in the meantime because it was so important to me. I wanted to show that I was a writer, that I didn't, you know, that I wasn't one note, you know. And I'm very, very proud of this book. I've gotten more emails on this book than any book I've ever written. That includes Invisible Life and my memoir. And 100% positive, 100% positive. I'm sure that'll change down the road. Somebody will say, you know, what were you thinking, blah, blah, blah. But so far, so good. And so I'm very, very pleased with this. But I always say that after I wrote this book, you know, because I had to take on the character of Brady and write him in first person and become basically a 21-year-old straight boy. As soon as I finished this book, I went and wrote a gay novel in 60 days that's coming out in January. So, you know, I guess I wanted to make sure, you know, it didn't take. You know, when straight people read my book, I used to always tell the women, tell your husband there's nothing magic in the books. There's no dust or anything like that. So Basketball Jones, which is based in Atlanta, is coming out in January, you know, right around King. And it's pure Lynn, you know. So it's not for the weak at heart when it comes, because I have a new editor, a new white female editor, and she sent the book back and she said it's not enough sex in it. So Basketball Jones is going to be pretty hot, and I've signed another a deal to write gay novels for another publisher. My main publisher wasn't really happy about it, but it was a chance to work with a gay editor that I wanted to work with. I'm going to have to write under another name. It'll be Lynn Harris writing as, but you'll know it's me, and you know. And this is going to be based on a new character that I'm introducing, who runs a modeling agency in Miami, young black gay guy in his mid-30s, and just the pearls of his life. He's down there with the glitter and glamour of Miami and how that works out. And I'm having a great time writing that book. And next summer, I'm coming out with a book that I'm working on now called Blame It on the Sun. And it's my tribute, in a way, to African-American women. It's 3 generations of African-American women. The grandmother, who's in her 50s but looks like she's in her 30s. The main character, who you guys know, Yancey. And now Yancey's daughter is 18, and she's come back, Madison. And Madison is the hottest star in the country now. She's won an American Idol type show. And Yancey is staying in a cheap hotel and watching TV one night, and it dawns on her that this is her little girl. And so I'm not going to tell you what happened, but I'm having a ball writing it. It's practically writing itself, and that'll come out next summer, and it's called Blame It on the Sun. Okay? So I've been busy, but I've been having a great time, you know. I took that little break, that little hiatus, and learned how to teach school and what have you, and now I'm back to what it is that I do best. I'm going to answer a few questions that I know I'll get asked when I open it up for questions. One, Not a Day Goes By is supposed to go into production very, very soon. They've already had a table reading. It's been budgeted for a theatrical release, meaning It will be on big screens. I can't tell you when. I can't tell you anything about cast or anything because nothing has been decided. But it was some big name actors who took part in the reading, which they did for free. You know, reading the script and what have you. Invisible Life, the musical, with 15 of the most amazing songs you've ever heard from Ashford and Simpson, goes into workshop in January. So things are happening for me on other levels as well, and I'm very, very excited about it. So it gets warm in here, and it especially gets warm when a lot of us gather together, and it's not church. So I'm going to read with apologies to Carrington because I have stopped reading when little ones are here because the part that I've been reading is pretty, you know me. Okay. I've always liked a good cuss word every now and then. So. When I wrote this book, I always thought I knew how it would begin, how the book came to me. And it was always this mother and this son driving to college in August for the last time. You know, taking a trip that they'd taken so many times, but this time it was different because it was the last time that they would be taking this trip because Brady was a senior. And I always felt like that's the way the book would start. But when I wrote the book, it really didn't work for the opening scene. I wanted to go back and find out about Carmen, his mother, who's 38 years old, and Brady, who's getting ready to just turning 21 in his senior year. And he's this big football star. But he's a great kid because Carmen has raised him right. And they have this wonderful, wonderful relationship, as a lot of mothers and sons do. And what would happen if someone came in and got Brady's attention in a not-so-good way and started to destroy that relationship between a mother and son? And then I thought about the mother and what she was like at this age, and why was she raising Brady alone, and where was Brady's father? All of these were questions as a writer that I had that I was interested to find out. Because when I write a book, I start the journey long before you guys do. It comes to me just like a novel. I don't go in knowing what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with Ava and Yance. I know somebody needs to change because right now all three of them are bitches. But I figure by the end one of them would have changed for the better. But here I started with two very, very good, love the Lord kind of people. And I said, what can I do to make them three-dimensional? My editor and I had lots of arguments, and this was not my new editor, but my old editor, about Brady, because I wanted Brady to be celibate the whole time. I wanted this to be a young man who was saving himself for marriage. Brady, the character, basically told me when I started to write this book, he said, okay, Lynn, I'm going to entrust you with my life, and I want you to know that I'm saving myself for marriage, but I also want you to know that I'm not confused about my sexuality. I know who I am. I'm a straight man. My mom has raised me right. I don't have a problem with gay people. If you need to put gay people in the story, you can. You know, he just kind of let me know who he was. So to me, there were no questions about Brady. I just wanted to see how it would unfold. And when my editor said, well, I think you need to give Brady an edge. You know, you got to bring something to him. So, you know, because nice really doesn't work in a novel. I mean, you want nice people, but when they're always nice, they kind of slow the action down. So I had to go back and rewrite Brady's first chapter. And I'm not going to read that, but I'm going to read, the book starts with a series of letters to give you an idea of what has transpired before the book opens. And the book opens basically real time during the 2006 football season, which was a great season for my University of Arkansas Razorbacks. So it was fun writing it as the season went on. So I'm going to read you the first part of the book. And if any of you have ever been in one of my readings before, you know I don't like you to read along. So close your books because I want y'all to hear it the way I heard it. It's called a reading by the author, not a read along. You would do that if you were in my class. In my class, we read out loud. You know, and somebody will read a couple pages, and I ask them to to read it like they think the character would read it, and then they could. I'll point to somebody else and move on. And I'll tell you an interesting story about that before I start reading. You know, I have to always be reading ahead. I had one student who was an athlete who wouldn't say curse words. So he would just say the first word, the first letter, the B or D or MF or whatever. He wouldn't say the words. And then I had to also read ahead if one of my white students was reading something and the N word was going to appear. I had to, say, okay, you pick up, or you pick up, because that's what we do. We're in a circle. And one time we were reading this book, and I always tell, it was one of my female students who could really read well, and she always infused herself into the character and whatever. And we were reading this book. It was called A Little Piece of Sky, and it was a Spanish character in there, and she just reading along, and then the Spanish character switched, and the word was hola, but she said holla, and she just, and just kept on reading. So you never know what you're going to get when you ask young people to read. So let me share with you something from Just Too Good to Be True. Nisi, I can hardly stand to write your name. How could you do this to me? If what you did last night is love, then I want no fucking part of it. Or you. Believe that shit. How could I fall in love with a girl who is a whore and a slut? You make me sick. I'm tired of you ladies talking about what dogs we jocks can be, when it's really you got to find me an NFL husband, women who are the dogs, female dogs, bitches. You use that magic between your legs to lure men into your web and call it love. What would your wannabe high-class parents have to say about what you did? Do you think the Rev, your dear old daddy, would still call you his princess? Hell no. What about all that stuff you told me about wanting to have 3 children and live happily ever after? Well, let me tell you, there is no ever after, Nisi. Not now, not ever. I wanted to throw up when I saw you lying in that bed, drunk and naked. And then I had to listen to all those high school boys tell me that you'd taken such good care of them. Nisi, you're nothing but a whore. I thought when you saved yourself for me that I would be the only man you ever made love to. Fuck that. I felt like such a fool. This shit's going to hit campus and I'm going to be the laughing stock of the locker room. How could you do this to me? Because of you, I'm left with a heart that can no longer hold love. My mother was right. Any woman who lays down with a man without the benefit of marriage ain't shit. I should have believed her. I should have known better, because after the first time you and I had sex, all you could ever think about was sex, 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 as if you were some nympho. I thought you couldn't keep your hands off of me because you liked the way I got down. Now I know that I fell in love with a freak. Well, baby, the joke's on you. One day you may have children, though definitely not with me. And eventually they'll learn when you least expect it that their mom was a campus hoe. When that happens, I hope you hurt as much as I hurt now. I wish I could say it's been wonderful calling you my girl. I wish I could say that we'll get over this and become stronger, but I can't. Nisi, what you did is unforgivable, and I regret the day I met you. I left you for a good girl. I left a good girl for you. But from now on, whenever you see me, keep stepping. Don't look my way. When I'm a big star in the NFL, don't tell anybody you ever knew me. Don't tell people that you fucked me. I now know that's what it was. I suggest you do what I'm going to do. Forget you ever knew me. I've already forgotten you, that I ever knew you or loved you. I hate you. And that's the end of it. I wrote that letter in one take, and my editor liked it, but she wanted me to change it, and so I changed it and tried to say the same kinds of things that I felt like the character was feeling, and it just didn't work. And the sales force, which is mostly white men, sided with me, saying that this is the way the book should start, and so we went back to the original letter. So there you have it, Just Too Good to Be True. The journey of Carmen and Brady, and a really conniving character that I had fun writing, a young lady who you'll get to know and love and hate, all at the same time. I'll answer a few questions, and then we're going to sign some books. No questions? Yeah.
This has nothing to do with the book, but I remember 7 years ago here, you were radio in Atlanta talking about the screenplay for Sparkle.
Mm-hmm. There was some talk about doing it. Warner Brothers really wanted to do it because they were in the Aaliyah business. They were big fans of hers, and so was I. And so to me, when that happened, I kind of lost interest in it. I've completed the script. There was talk of them, doing it with Raven Simone. So anyway, I don't know. I did do a treatment for a Lifetime. A Lifetime basically came to me and said, "Elaine, we love you, but your stuff's a little bit too strong for us. But we want to do a movie about the download. So will you tell us what we need to do?" And so I wrote them like a 5-page treatment, named the characters, told them the situation. Of course, it's going to take place in Atlanta. And then they gave it to a script writer and let the script writer write it. And every now and then she'd call me and ask me questions about, certain things. And that really will happen. So, I learned I can, make a living just writing treatments. Like, takes me about a day to come up with an idea and let somebody else go where and write it. Yes. Oh, I wrote a novella about Raymond and Basil. I don't know when it's coming out. It's finished, but I think you might see Basil next summer. Okay. Don't spoil it. Everybody ain't read the book. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. I appreciate you.
It's amazing while you were just reading the first opening lines and stuff like that. I'm just at the book where I just found out who he is. I'm like a light bulb and epiphany went off in my head. Like, wow, I just realized who it is.
Okay. Let's just say I've met several Basils in my life. And fortunately for me, keep meeting them over and over again. Any other questions? Right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just got the book today. But as I was reading, it sort of reminded me of "And This Too Shall Pass." Did this come from that in any way?
No, this book really did come from my students. In teaching, I'm real popular with the athletes in terms of my class, and I just wonder. They would always say, "Well, Professor E, which one of your books should I read first?" Or and I could never think of anything, And so I said, well, I just said to myself, I was going to write a book, for them that they would enjoy. And the last semester I was there, I took the manuscript to class, and I passed it out, and I let them read it when I was writing it. And they just fell in love with it. And they kept saying, "Oh, well, Professor E, he wouldn't say it like that. The character, no, that's old, And so they would change it. And I would give them extra credit. They would turn it at the end. And it got to the point where that's all they wanted to do, was to read the book and discuss it. And it was interesting for me to make this character authentic, and to make it, sing the way that it does. And I owe a lot of that to them, There's a question back there. Somebody, yeah.
What's your favorite book so far that you've written?
Oh, it's very easy. Invisible Life, Just As I Am, and This Too Shall Pass. If This World Were Mine, Abide With Me. Not a day goes by, any way the wind blows. A love of my own. I say a little prayer, and just too good to be true. Okay, you're right. Oh, I'm sweating up here now.
Being the son of a minister who built my mom and dad, I found it really refreshing that you have incorporated I've read every one of your books, and I picked this up 2 weeks ago and read it in 2 days. And I really found it refreshing that how you interject always the spiritual with what we have to deal with on a day-by-day basis. And it gives me hope that all is going to be well, no matter what we face.
And it will. And that's a good way to end it. Thank you. Okay. So how we going to do this? Well, the first, y'all got it, so we can see y'all later. Okay.